Let's talk about the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers in this division, but so are the Detroit Lions, so are the Chicago Bears, and there are the Minnesota Vikings down there looking for some scraps. So what's the best team in this division, Troy? A lot of good football teams here.
Well, yes, there are, and I think the best of the best is in that division. Unfortunately for the other teams, and that's the Green Bay Packers. 15-1 last year. I know. Can't imagine winning 15 games in the NFL and then not winning a playoff game, but that's what happened to them. And so it's been a long offseason for them to try to put that behind them and bounce back. But I think when you look at the Green Bay Packers, really against any other team in football, they're so good at every position, and they've got some depth. Now, defensively last year, obviously they had some problems, and they need to shore that up. But Aaron Rodgers is playing unbelievable football, and the reigning NFL MVP, and I don't expect a lot of that to change. I think Ted Thompson is their general manager, has been outstanding, addressing some of the personnel over the last several years, and then Mike McCarthy. I've been very impressed with him. I've said it before, somewhat of a strange hire when he was hired. Yeah. But boy, he has really proven his worth as both a head coach and a play caller. And I just don't see that division really changing much as far as who are the top teams. And behind them would be Detroit. I know they've been through a lot this offseason. A lot of attention paid to things happening off the field with a number of their players, and that's a concern. I mean, it certainly is real. Once you get into the games, you talk then about what happens on the field, but sometimes these things that happen off the field have an impact then on how well you do play come Sunday. But Matthew Stafford stayed healthy last year, and we saw what he was able to do, over 5,000 yards passing. A kid who grew up right here in my backyard, and he's going to be a great player in this league for a long time, and as long as he's got Calvin Johnson to throw the ball to. So I like Detroit. I think they're going to be knocking on the door here for a long, long time. And you look at the other teams within that division. Chicago, obviously some changes there, particularly offensively, and a little bit of a change philosophically. With Mike Tice, who had been the offensive line coach, he's now going to take over play calling and be the offensive coordinator. And so there's going to be more of an emphasis on play action passing, running the ball, getting the ball out of his hands. They pick up Brandon Marshall, a guy who Jay Cutler had a good relationship with there in Denver. And then the Minnesota Vikings, who, I think they're going to have...
They're in rebuild mode, clearly, right?
Obviously a young quarterback, and then with Adrian Peterson's knee and, how well he's able to come back. But, that's kind of how I see that division shaping up as we go into this year.
Talk about Calvin Johnson a little bit, and what a receiver like that, what his physical talent and ability. How do you approach him as a quarterback, delivering the ball to him, and does it give you freedom to make throws that you might not make to other guys?
Yeah, he's got such great width, and that you're able to attempt throws and get the ball to him that for some guys you wouldn't. I mean, if you had a much smaller receiver, they didn't have the physical assets that Calvin Johnson has, and you'd be a little less inclined to give him an opportunity. But I know in visiting with Matthew Stafford, he has said that, hey, if he's one-on-one with a guy, then we're going to give him a chance. And Michael Irvin was a lot like that for me. And so, for Calvin, if you put a ball up, it's hard for these defensive backs to try to match up with that. Plus, he has great straight-line speed, to where he's able to run by some people. Had an outstanding year last year, and, he creates... a lot like what Randy Moss did back in the day, and maybe will again this year.
Do you just throw it up there? Do you go, yeah, I'm just going to throw it up there?
As a quarterback, you hate to acknowledge, you'd like to say there's a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more of an art form to playing quarterback than just, throwing it up in the air like you would, if you're out there in the street playing with your buddies.
Right.
But with him, that's what you do. I mean, because he's just so gifted that you'd be doing him a disservice if you didn't give him an opportunity to go out and make a play.
Yeah. Now, what can a Brandon Marshall do for Chicago? I feel like this team has been looking for a go-to wide receiver for years. He feels like he could be that guy for them.
Well, yeah, he certainly can be, and I believe that he will be because of the relationship. I think one of the most important things for a quarterback is to have a guy that you trust. And when I say trust, I'm talking about on the field, that you trust that he's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. And he's not going to hang you out. He's not going to fool you. You're not going to throw a ball that's going to be contested and then him do something wrong that allows it to be intercepted. And so it's vital to have that kind of relationship with your go-to guy. And I don't know that Cutler has really had that there in Chicago, but he certainly had it with Brandon Marshall in Denver. And so here he comes back. Now, can they develop that again?
Right.
Yeah, I believe that they can, but that was a few years ago. But to have someone who you really kind of know, and he's been in some big games, and he's been able to do it for you, will go a long way in the confidence of Jay Cutler and turning it loose when he's throwing it to him.
Now, you mentioned Christian Ponder in Minnesota. If you're the quarterback and you're on a team that is maybe overmatched, what's your approach, or is it hard mentally to do what you got to do, stay focused, keep your spirits up, be the team leader, all those kind of things you have to do as a quarterback?
Well, it's difficult because, when you're a young quarterback in this league who was drafted high, the expectations are very high for you. And sometimes there's a lot of frustration that sets in when you're on a team that's going through a rebuilding year or isn't playing to the level that a lot of people think that you should be. And then that gets taken out on the quarterback. And then, again, as a young guy, you want to be able to show that, hey, I was the right pick and I am as good as advertised and I can help this franchise. And, I know for me and really being in that situation, it gets very tough.
It's almost like a weight that you're carrying, right? You're
it
carrying
is.
the
And
whole
with
team,
with each week, with each season that goes by, now he's just in his second year, but with each year that goes by, without measurable success, I think the pressure becomes more and more immense. I think more so now than even when I was playing, because it just seems that fans and media and really everybody is just they're less patient with quarterbacks. You usually get a grace period that rookie year, and then after that, everybody expects it to kind of just turn on. And I think that guys like Ben Roethlisberger, last year Cam Newton, I mean, there's been guys who have been able to come in and have success in this league, Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco, here in recent years, that has only amped up the expectations for some of these young quarterbacks. Whereas when I was coming to the league, I can't ever remember in my first 2 years when anyone suggested that I was a bust or was no good, or but
because they knew this is going to be a process. And
and even Terry Bradshaw, for instance, it was his 5th or 6th year before it really started going for him, and times have changed, and I think that a lot of that is because these coaches, they basically get a 2-year window. They've got to make tough decisions in a hurry on these young guys. It's hard. It's a hard league. It's hard on quarterbacks.
And finally, back to the Packers. Obviously, I know you think they're the class of this division. Coming off a year where you were a dominant football team, you went 15-1, but you have that disappointment at the end of the year. Is that a galvanizing force for a team coming back the next year and saying, hey, we really have something to prove here?
Yeah, I've never been in that situation. I've never been on a team that had the best record and then didn't win it all. So on the one hand, I would think that it would make you angry, make you, a little bit more hungry. On the other hand, you look at it and you say, gosh, I mean, we went through 16 games last year and put ourselves in a great position and failed to do anything with it, and going through 16 more games to get back to that position, because the Packers, along with the Giants and the Patriots and some of the other teams, now the 49ers, nobody really cares what happens with these teams, relatively speaking, during the 16 games. It really comes down, their success is going to be determined by what happens in January. And some players handle that very well, some coaches handle that very well, some don't. But I expect what I know of the Packers and that organization, that head coach, that staff, and those players, I would expect them to have another great year this year.
There you go, our look at the NFC North. For Troy Aikman, I'm Tom Vandervoort. Thanks for watching.